Hey everyone, awesome day to you all. I just hit 300 subscribers and it's so awesome. I thought of making this one the 300 subscribers special, but you guys deserve better. I'm going to make another video for the 300 subscribers special. And in there, I'm going to show all your fan arts. Can you believe that? I'm like a full-fledged YouTuber now. I've got fan arts and everything. Thank you so much, guys. And probably the video is just going to be a montage of all the paintings I've made since booting up this channel. Okay, so let's talk about this painting now. This is going to be Etho, and oh my gosh guys, it took me 11.5 hours. This is one of the longest paintings that I've made, but I'm quite happy with the results. You can observe, again, for the background, I returned to the technique of painting, which you guys might say very unique to me, which is from the colors that I blotched out, I just carve out forms, almost carving out forms from them and making them into simple recognizable shapes. Like, I know I'm very familiar with the shape of a leaf, and it's not a quadrilateral shape, but look at the shapes of my leaves there. They're mostly kite shaped, right? So that's what I'm going for. They ought to be simple because they're not the focus of this painting, and if I complicate their shapes individually, it's going to break your eyes away from the main subject, which is our opulent Etho. These leaves on top here, they took a really long time, but it's fun because it's like child's play. I oftentimes forget that I'm working on a bigger painting or in a bigger piece. I'm just in there making squares and varying the colors a little bit, not so much, but really subtle. It's like crafted texture. And because there's no lines, I'm free as a kite to make the shapes that I want. You know, whatever feels contributing to the painting, whatever shapes I feel interesting and not samey but still in the same family, that's a great advantage of this technique. Okay, so here I filled out the base colors of Etho, but I'm not using the fill function, although it could be really efficient because these lines are closed off, so the filling function could work well as the colors would not bleed out to the rest of the canvas, right? But I didn't do that. I used a softer brush just to lay the colors that I'm going to use there already, so that I don't go back and forth to the color wheel. I just pick the colors that I already set up there prior. Okay, and then it's just shape by shape carving out the form and thinking about the light sources. As you can see, I have two light sources. One is from the upper left, which is maybe a 4 o'clock sunlight, and the other one is the lamp in front of Etho. In my opinion, it's a good idea to put your main subject in the middle of two light sources. It would be better if one is warm and the other is a cold light source. But in this one, I have both light sources as warm, which usually won't work as well, but I'm very happy with the results still. Always remember carving out forms. Now you might say that I blend really good, but actually I don't blend. I use but one brush only, and that is the perfectly circle 100% opacity, no feathering brush. I leave the blending to myself to work on. Like, if I got two differently colored shapes meeting, I'm going to find an in-between color and paint along the edges, and that transition is also designed shape-wise. You can see here to the right side of your screen that that's the real-time painting over there. You can but see a little bit of it, how much I pan and zoom in the painting, because I need to be really close to the painting. Like, my nose should be in the pixels to make the most perfect shape. It does take a long time, but it takes a long time. It's really okay. as long as I know it's gonna work. You know, if you're thinking like, oh, but it takes a long time, I should just be able to press one button and like I should just be able to use a adjustment layer or a blending layer to make this easier for me. But actually for me, thinking about many layers, one layer for the highlights, another layer for the shadows, that's actually in the long run more stressful. But I'm not looking down at anyone who's using a lot of layers. In fact, I look up to you. A lot of my art heroes have made awesome art because of their in-depth knowledge of layers, adjustments, layers, masking, and everything technical in Photoshop. But that's the trick there. Your knowledge should be in-depth. If you are more comfortable using adjustment layers, that's really fine. But for me, I think, and not many people realize this, working on one layer is a lot easier. And another thing is that it's transferable to traditional art, right? Because if you're painting in acrylic or in oil or in watercolor, maybe not much watercolor, if you're painting in traditional form, there's not going to be any semblance to layers, right? The more accustomed you are in working in one single layer, then the more it is transferable to traditional painting. But again, I'm not looking down to you. I even would like to try to be better at the adjustments techniques and layer technique. But for now, this one's easier. I'm not saying I don't use layers. What I mean is my rendering, my shadows and highlights are all in one same layer. Having everything in one layer and just taking responsibility for each shape that you design, craft it by hand, it's going to make you feel meaning because you've efforted so much for the painting. So that's just one tip. In the future, I'm going to show you a little bit of tutorials here and there about how I go about in this process, and I hope you'll be waiting for that and hanging out in this channel so that I can really share. It hasn't been very long since I started practicing this technique, and I realized that this technique is possible like just a year ago. I'm really excited to share all this to you guys, but I still can't find the time to do so. Okay, so now I'm designing these lily flowers. I like the lily flower to the right. I prefer it to that one on the left. It has better shape and better tints of colors. And these lily pads, and then I think I'm going to work next on the reflections on the water. Little things like this. Another thing that you can observe in my painting is how much I utilize reflections. So my shapes and my forms look rather metallic. Okay, I hope the things that I said commentating on this video, talking about my art thoughts and process while doing this, is helpful and at least made sense. Okay, now I'm working on top of the line work. I don't want any of those line work to show, especially in the face area. I want it to look really finished. But I left out the line works and the other parts of Etho's figure here because it's going to take a bit of like 3 more hours to finish all them off. But since they're not the highlights of the piece, I'm going to leave them as is. I'm finally able to show this to you after 3 or 4 days of work. I'm very happy and very excited for you guys' reactions and comments, and it really encourages me to work harder on my art pieces. Special thank you to my patron Donald Hekala. Thank you so much, man. Check out Patreon, guys. It's in the link in the description below, and subscribe if you haven't already.